Hi, this is Mark Egan. It's been a while since I put up a video on the EB5 Immigrant Investor Program. There have been a lot of significant changes in that program, and more significant changes are in the offing. So I wanted to just tell you a little bit about what's been happening and what to expect in the near future. Right now I'm making this video in the middle of October. At the end of September, the EB5 Regional Center program was scheduled to sunset. This happens every 3 years. Congress extends the program for 3 years, but they never have gotten around to making it permanent. It originally was just a pilot program. That's been almost 20 years ago, but they're still extending it. And so every 3 years it comes up with an automatic sunset date. And by that date, Congress is supposed to make a decision about whether the program is going to continue or whether to make it permanent. And in the last series of those 3-year periods, we've gotten up to the wire before Congress has decided what to do. Well, this year, 2015, Congress decided what to do at the last minute, and what they decided to do was put it off for a few months. They decided basically not to decide, and so the new deadline, instead of September 30th, the new deadline for the Regional Center program will be December 11th, a little over about 2 months from now. And that's important, particularly for people who are interested in investing in the EB5 program through a regional center. And one of the reasons that it's important is because, unlike in past years, this time Congress, in addition to extending the program, there have been some pretty serious proposals put forth to actually change the program in some significant ways. I'm not going to take the time to go into all the nitty-gritty details of the proposed legislation because it's just proposed legislation, and who knows what will actually end up being passed. It has to be agreed on by both houses of Congress and then signed off by the President. But there is a bill, there are a couple of bills, but there are some provisions that seem to be fairly well agreeable to both the Republicans and the Democrats, and the one that will probably be of most concern to investors, at least initially: how much money do I have to invest in order to get my EB5? Currently, as I explain in more detail in another video, the required amounts for a standard EB5 application is an investment of $1 million in a new U.S. business. And if the business is located in what's called a targeted employment area, basically an area where the unemployment rate is 1.5 times the national average for the United States, you can invest in a project in one of those areas for half of the standard amount, so $500,000. It's still a pretty substantial amount of money, and most regional centers, for that very reason, have located their projects in targeted employment areas. So most EB5 investors are investing for $500,000. Well, the new proposal is thinking this EB5 program has finally become popular. It's really taken off. 10 years ago, the program was about 15 years old, but still there were only a handful of regional centers that were actually active and funding projects and bringing in investors. Now there are well over 300 regional centers around the country. Not all of those are still active, and not all of those are trustworthy, so it's extremely important, if you're investing in an EB5, to do your due diligence. Check out everything. It's an awful lot of money. And although regional centers will tell you that we've been approved by the Immigration Service, that just basically means they filled out the right paperwork to be allowed to open a regional center. The Immigration Service is not in the business of going through and making sure that all of their projects are going to be successful and make a lot of money. There's a very low threshold of paperwork and procedures that they are claiming to have in place. But the fact that they have done that and gotten approved as a regional center does not mean that this is a good investment or that you should just trust your money blindly. You've always got to be careful anytime you're investing money, certainly this much money. So, as I was saying, most regional centers are located in targeted employment areas, which means most people will be able to invest for $500,000. The proposed legislation, though, is going to raise that amount to $800,000 for the investment in a targeted employment area, and $1.2 million if it's not in a targeted employment area. So $200,000 to $300,000 more is what it will cost if this bill passes. And it's fairly likely that some form of the bill will pass. We don't know with certainty what the required amounts are going to be, but it is pretty well accepted in the immigration law community that whatever bill is passed is going to increase the rates. And these seem to be quite likely the numbers that we're going to be looking at.